right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. Today I have a guest, and I haven't had a guest for a while. And most of you who have been following me for a while know I've gotten very selective about topics and things that I really feel my audience will engage with. I actually have somebody who's an amazing Canadian woman today. And her name is Carrie Olver, and she's one of Canada's most recognizable on air personalities, known for her decades hosting TSC, Today's Shopping Choice, and her earlier work with the Weather Network. Her warmth, presence, and ability to connect with viewers made her a staple in Canadian broadcasting. And she's built a loyal following through her beauty, her fashion, and lifestyle segments on TSC, where women really trust her honesty, her humor, her deep product knowledge, and her relatability. And now she's 59 years old and she's entering a vibrant new chapter with the launch of her clothing line. And it's called Carrie O, right? I think it's called Carrie O. And it's
Carrie.
created Carrie O. It's created for women who want style, confidence, and ease at every stage of life. And Carrie continues to inspire women across Canada by showing what it looks like to stay visible, creative, and powerful on your own terms through all the stages in your life. So today, we are going to talk about a lot of things that are going to inspire women at our age about what it means for women to live fully expressed, visible, unapologetic at every stage of our life. We refuse to shrink, we refuse to dim our light, and we embrace reinvention at all stages of life. And Carrie and I met back in December last year. I was guest hosting and she was the host. And I was like, something really connected me to Carrie. I loved her energy. Most of you know I'm big on energy. And then all of a sudden I see she's come out with this clothing line. And I'm like, I got to talk to this woman. So, with that, welcome, Carrie. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you, my dear. And it was such a pleasure meeting you. When you came in, I was feeling the same connection. And it's not an easy place for people just to jump in, going on air like that and, sort of three, two, one, here you go. And you just were so honest and compassionate and authentic to the viewers. And, that really resonated. And I know you would only do products that you believe in. So that was really what impressed me as well. And not that, most people don't do that, but it's this true authenticity. Like I would never talk about something that I wouldn't personally recommend.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I also see your excitement about a lot of the products that you do, but we have to go to your story because the fact is you've got longevity. Most of you who follow me, I'm all about aging better. I'm all about, reinventing yourself, and somehow you've been in this industry for a very long time. How did you even get started?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it was sort of accidental, as most things are, I think, at that age, when unless you're setting out to be a doctor, a lawyer, taking that route in school and so on. I was around it and grew up around television. My father was in television, and I would spend the weekends with him, and we would end up at CFTO, and we were just in the makeup chair or in the studio. And so I sort of just grew up around it. And I, a cousin of mine had gotten a job doing something else in television, and she eventually landed at the shopping channel. And she had said to me when I was around 20, she said, and I was doing real estate and not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And she had said, why don't you come in for an audition? And I came in, and I really think because I grew up around studios and such that it wasn't intimidating for me. And I felt pretty comfortable in that because I think, and I'm a terrible auditioner, first and foremost. Later in life, when I was trying to do, other kind of maybe acting gigs, and I'm so not an actor. So that did not work out. But I felt just really confident and comfortable, in that environment. And when they said, okay, talk about this, and the first thing they said was, talk about this. Was it a string or a pen? I think it was both. And it was if you can talk about this for 5 minutes, you've got the job. And I did. And it was such an amazing experience to be your first job going live and just non-scripted for hours, like a few hours. And so
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. And I think it was just the naivete as well, like going, really, I didn't really realize the undertaking of that. So it was, and that was it, started there and went down to the States for a little while and realized that wasn't me. So came
Now,
back and
are you connected to QVC or HSN? Are they also connected?
yes. Well, HSN and TSC had a connection many, many years ago. And then that dropped off. So that was probably over 30 years ago. But I would go down and guest on HSN often. And so I had a relationship with people down there. And, there isn't a lot of us who sort of do this job. So that community, people would come up and guest that are hosts or former hosts from there. So you create these relationships.
Yeah, there's definitely a community. I mean, I met quite a few of you, and there's a lot of you who have been in that space for a very long time. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually say that. Here's what I actually love is that there is no such thing as ageism. And I love that because what that shows you is
Not in
that,
this
right? Like
business.
you've got staying power. And I
It's
love
shocking
that.
because if it was in any sort of, I mean, yes, I was at the Weather Network for years, and I did another show for 3 seasons about spas and going around the world to different spas called Spectacular Spas, and I was doing other things, and to age in those areas, there unfortunately really feels like an expiry on that. But for this job, it is the best place to age for women in television because this is our audience, that 45, 50 plus, and it's such a wealth of support for and connection of women, aging women, that it just turned out to be absolutely amazing. I mean, I think I'm just starting to come into my own at 59.
Well, you know what's amazing too is I will say this. I had a lot of girlfriends so who were having children, 30 to 35 and TSC. Like so like I'm saying like that was kind of the thing to do when you're up feeding a baby all at late at night, turn on TSC. And so even younger women I think tune in. I know that you guys have your core audience, but I had girlfriends who were watching it much earlier.
Well, we're the kind of networks, and I say we because it was sort of a thing. And I was talking about this with my girlfriend who's on the Weather Network still, Kim McDonald, and we were just, and she's one of my very close besties, and we were talking about these are two networks that you just keep on, like their background noise, their background. Like I still have a voiceover for the locals on the Weather Network. People still think I'm connected to it, and so there's an incredible familiarity that starts to happen, and you become a part of people's families in a way. Not to be presumptuous, it's just that you're just sort of noise in the background.
No, it's true. It's true. Now, you've been in front of people for a very long time. And what has taught you about being seen or misunderstood or even criticized?
uh,
Because this is the thing, Carrie. I am a very sensitive individual And when I feel like I'm being criticized in this space or something that I talk about, I'm like, I'm just out here doing my best.
Yeah.
Like,
You
how
have
does
to get
that?
there though. You got to get there because it's you know, when you're younger, it's maybe you just don't have the tools to deal with it, but it's a stab. You really feel that when people, like, God knows, like if there was social media when I was in my 20s and 30s, and how people bully, because I get bullied on occasion on social media. People will have negative or nasty comments. And now, being in my shoes now, handling it, I'm a duck. It rolls off my back. I mean, I feel more, I feel for them, like the sadness, like, oh my gosh, how awful is that to be you? But at the time, I mean, when you would hear something, or people always had comments on my hair. Oh my God. It was, you could never, because I liked big hair. And you could never, ever make everybody happy. So everybody had a comment. And what I found really interesting was that, people, when you were out grocery store or whatever, really felt like they were entitled to an opinion about that. And they would say that to you, go, well, I preferred you like this, or I liked you better like that, or
Wow.
something, or oh my gosh, you've lost a lot of weight, or and these are strangers that felt very entitled to comment. And it's it's pretty interesting. And now I just sort of, go, well, lovely to meet you. Glad you're watching.
I love that you do that because, you know, I actually recorded a podcast about this because when you're in this space, this public space, you can sometimes be almost like this target for other people's triggers,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So once you see that and you see that it's not you, it's, their stuff that they need to deal with, then you can respond that way. And I love that you said that.
But there are moments where you're like, is what they're saying valid? And like, like I've got to reflect on that a little bit. Or, maybe like, and then you do feel a little insecure about it. So I'm not going to completely, say it's 100% that it's, oh, I'm a duck, but mostly. But maybe there are a few moments where you kind of say, okay, maybe. And then if you can manage to give it its due and then just let it go, right? Depending on where it comes from and who it comes from. But, constructive criticism is amazing, right? I mean, it's helpful, but it all depends the vein in which it's offered.
I
Yeah.
agree. But that's constructive criticism. It could be from a colleague that knows you or, right? So versus blanket, you know, criticisms. They're very different, I think. So
Oh, I feel so much for the women, and men who have to go through coming up in this with social media. Like, oh,
I
my
know.
heart bleeds for that.
It's not an easy world. I mean, back in the day when we were kids, it was very different. You dealt with your issues face on, and then they were done and it was over. Whereas social media, it can live on and on and on and on. And it's from complete strangers too. So
Mhm. That makes it very easy to hide behind something, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've spent decades in this very, women heavy competitive industry, because I think this is also an important piece. So, what did that environment teach you about yourself and about women in general? Because I do believe that there's always going to be relationships that provide support, and then there's relationships that do not. So, what did you learn in this very competitive industry that you're in?
Well, everyone's trying to climb the ladder, right? I mean, so it you get burned a few times and then you learn, right? Then you learn who to trust, and you learn to, to maybe I'm a really open book. I mean, that's on the air. Sometimes I get to the point where I feel like I'm in my own living room, and you're sitting there talking to yourself for 3 or 4 hours. I mean, how guarded can you be, right? But I've been very lucky to garner some good support, and women who have don't have a real agenda in that regard, who are supportive. But I've certainly come across women who have, mm, to try to get ahead, used you in a particular way or set you up to fail. And I don't know, I think that happens to a lot of people in any industry, right?
Hmm.
But you have to really learn from it. Like, you have to see those moments, learn from it. And it's like, I don't want to give you particular instances, for example, and throw anybody under the bus.
No, no.
Women can be very difficult. I mean, I found the male relationships younger, a little bit more supportive, and that, I don't know, who knows, that's the male female dynamic or whatever it is. But we were, so many of us were vying for that same job, right? Or we were really going after the same thing and all in that same category. And you're the brunette, or you're the blonde, or we have too many brunettes, and and so all of that sort of thing came up. And my sort of remedy to that was, I always came prepared. So it didn't matter if, like, I really felt confident that I was doing the best that I could do. So it's all, always be prepared, as cheesy as that sounds. So I couldn't let them crush me in that sort of way. And then, of course, it sort of came, looks and all of that. I mean, you're working in television, and too fat, too skinny, too this, too that. And I always thought, well, if I learned the material, what else can I do? Right.
Yeah, you can't
So,
change who
you
you
get burned a
are.
few times. You get burned a few times.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, at this age, it's so nice because I don't feel that competitiveness. And I'm so happy I don't have that competitiveness anymore. And that's just years and years of doing what I've been doing. And I mean, I'm not going after a CNN anchor job or anything like that. Like, it's I feel like I want to more mentor and help younger women that are coming up in this business, if they want my help, right? And and that really is an amazing feeling. And I wish there were a few women like that, but I wish there were more women like that for me when I was that age.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see all of what you're saying because, even in the podcasting world, it's like who's getting the biggest guest? Who's getting the biggest topics? Who's getting, right? And so I like like you, I started off that way, and I was getting all these big guests and I'm like, "No, I'm going solo." Cuz I don't want to be in it just for the guest. I don't want to be, I'm going to forge my own path. That's the
Yes.
best way to describe it. I'm doing what feels really good to me. And it seems
Mhm.
like that's what you're doing. I don't want to mean to force that on you, but like when you kind of do that, you might come across certain personalities or something that's maybe not serving you, but at the same time, if you keep going on a path that's authentic and true to yourself, you'll get there.
Well, Toronto's a small place. And so, there was the same people, with the more visible jobs. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll try to go after those jobs that are, on air, maybe in entertainment or this or that. And I didn't want to go to all the parties. Like, I really didn't. Like, I had this agent and this PR person who said, you're being a very bad client. Because like I'm an introvert extrovert. So I'm a little bit more of a homebody. And I mean, my gosh, I have chickens. Like that's more me. And it was like I found out very quickly because I was like, okay, well, why am I not getting this job or that job, And it was, well, you have to go out and market yourself. Like you really have to go out and be seen at places and go to those parties and do this and get that invitation and be on that list or be on that red carpet or whatever it was in the city. And honest to God, I just found it too exhausting. And I really am so happy where I landed because I would take live television any day of the week and doing what I do. I mean, I'm not sitting there curing cancer, but I'll tell you, I've learned more about a million different things than I would have ever been exposed to. I mean, these are people's stories, their passions. Like when they come on with a product, they're coming on with the story about how they got there and everything they gave up to get there, and it was an idea, and to see that evolution, I mean, that's pretty infectious stuff. So like I say, I was a homebody. I didn't want to go fight for it, in that way. I mean, I fought for it, in a different way.
Yeah, you're my soul sister because I'm the same. I'm like, what was a term I was given a term once like for social engagements. I was called a backer outer because because I'd be like, I don't want to go to that party. I just like
Yes.
like I do socialize. I do like I'm not a hermit or anything, but I'm just more of a homebody. I'm definitely more on that side, so I can relate for sure.
Well, plus two, I mean, I really give a lot of energy at work. Like, when you go and you're doing 4 hours live, and there's a lot of personalities going on, and there's a lot of intensity, and you've got all these different guests who have a lot riding it, a lot on the line. I mean, they're there to sell and to make money and to create a business, a successful business. It's pretty intense. So the amount of decompressing, I kind of feel that's necessary for me, was becoming more and more important.
I love that you said that because I realized that myself. Like I was there for like one day, it was like 12 hours and you have to be very on, right?
Completely.
You can't just sit back and go, "Oh, I'm going to just let these next 5 minutes just coast." You
Yeah.
have to be on. You have to be on for the brand because you're representing the brand and you want to do your best for them. So being on is like it's just like when I'm in doing this podcast recording. I have
Mhm.
to be focused and on for this hour because I want to do my best for you to make sure that we're having an engaging conversation.
Yeah. Like yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm there to lift them up and to shine light on them. And I think the more confident you become, the easier that is to do, because in that confidence, um, that's, I think, the authenticity starts to happen, right? Like I'm not trying to vie for the spotlight or trying to, no, it's about me. No, it's not about me. This is what it's about. It's about the customer. It's about the shopper. It's about the person who wants to find out every single little thing, about whatever it is, or the story behind it. So I really put myself in the position of the consumer, right? I want to know as much as the consumer wants to know. But I've seen what it's like to start a brand. I know what it's like to start a brand and to put everything into it. And it's not easy. And the last thing that you want is, people to phone it in. Oh, I didn't run that video, or I didn't do that, or I didn't ask that question. I mean, you only have so many minutes, and then those minutes get cut. If it doesn't do well, I mean, you're not sticking around. That's why when brands have been there for 30 years, I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that is. Now, let's shift gears to these transitions and being on camera. because I think this is really important. And we kind of touched on this offline, just about how women traditionally, Carrie, have had to hide certain things that they're going through, like menopause, like
Right.
transition. Nobody's going to go online and be like, okay, I could tell you the story. Once I was lecturing in Boston, and no, it was Miami. It was when I was really involved in the biohacking, and I was on stage and I was moderating a panel with doctors. It was a really important subject. I had literally the most major hot flash. My face, I could feel it burning. And there's an audience. This is live. And I called it out. I said, I'm in the middle of a really big hot flash right now, as you can all see. And we're just going to proceed and keep going with this interview and it'll subside. So it's like I sometimes feel like certain situations, instead of being embarrassed about it, you're not going to necessarily say that on live TV, but how did you deal with menopause in the
Mhm.
spotlight? Because that's a big question. And I do want to say women should never feel embarrassed about something that happens to all women.
Well, seeing, and I love that story. Seeing women, the conversation now. I'm at that age and in that movement that there is a conversation about it now, and there are products supporting that. I mean, I'm selling a vag tightener for heaven's sakes.
I saw that.
Okay,
I saw that
so
on a TSC. I love it.
you're holding the whole dealio, and so you're having these conversations with doctors and with, so it's out there, and I have no problem talking about incontinence and vaginal tightness and wetness and dryness and all that kind of stuff. And I remember having that talk with myself, going, okay, are you comfortable with doing that? Are you about what you're going to say? And I'm like, if we're going to talk about it, we've got to talk about it. Like, we've got to just like say no holds barred. You just have to open up to it. And then it's a matter of how much of your own self are you going to give out, and you know, as you relate to it, right? And honest to goodness, it made no difference to me. I was glad the conversation came out. And it's it's a community of women that are helping women. I mean, it's only positive. It's only positive stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And, was there ever a time that you felt that insecurity, whatever, hot flashes or anything, and you were, in the middle of a live recording or something like that? Has that ever happened to you?
Well, I've been very lucky about hot flashes because I haven't really gotten them, and my girlfriends hate me for that. So that's not really happened, but sleep and fatigue and some of those issues, and weight, I mean, that creeped up on me. So that was a big deal for me. And so I've at around 52, it was okay, I got to shed like 30 pounds, so like that was something in a conversation that I had with myself, and tried all that business way before COVID. But there was a moment on air, it was kind of funny when I did lose weight, people wanted to know, how did you lose it? Why did you lose it? What was going on? And were really sending me all these private messages about it. And I had tried, my doctor had said, why don't you try Saxenda? It was off. It was before the whole Ozempic thing. And he had offered it to me to try it. And I tried it and it worked beautifully. Like, I lost 10 pounds in the first month. Now,
What?
nobody, the whole movement hadn't started yet. Maybe it had started in Hollywood or whatever it was, but he was all for it. And I'm like, bring it on. Like, if you've got this thing that can help. And then everybody started talking about negative implications of, or judgment rather. I mean, there's a lot of science and study around it and whatever. but it was, people wanted to know. And I was like feeling almost ashamed about saying it, right? About saying, oh, well, I was trying something to help me do that. And then I finally did, and it didn't. And I thought, forget it. I don't care about people's judgment for it. It really helped, and it worked for me. And I did it for about 6 months, and so that was a bit of an interesting kind of time.
I find that interesting too. And this is the thing, Carrie, you kind of touched on it, but for some reason, maybe it's because we live in this social media world, people feel like it's okay to ask questions that, might be private, but at the same time, you can be very graceful in how you share information. Like,
Well,
right? Like,
okay, so sorry to, I didn't mean to cut you. It just makes me think about somebody brought to my attention, and they had said, because I so many people had said to me, imagine 30 pounds. I'd lost 30 pounds. I'd done it on camera, right? And people had said, you are so much thinner, oh my gosh, like you're shrinking away to nothing. I and I remember thinking, wow, what a backhanded compliment. Oh, you were so big before. And it was this backhanded compliment. And it didn't completely resonate to me until I said it to somebody else. And I said, wow, you're getting too thin. And then she actually schooled me a little bit. And she said, you know what? That's just as bad, right? As saying, like, because we think thin is being so acceptable or whatever, or that's the standard of beauty. And she really brought it to my attention, and we had this great conversation and exchange about it. So I will never say to someone, "Oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight." It was really an eye opener for me.
same, same. And the other thing that I won't say ever, just because I think self-awareness, you just mentioned something. You've clearly got a lot of self-awareness, right? Because you realized something and then you changed the dynamic on how you approach subjects like this. So that's amazing. I commend you for that because a lot of people don't, right? And so I'm personally extremely sensitive to weight. I don't have a thyroid gland. I had thyroid cancer, and
Mm,
people will say, "Oh, what do you mean? You just take your medication and it's the same thing." I'm like, "Well, no, it's not. When you lose an organ, your body operates differently, and this is the master of metabolism that's gone."
right.
So, I'm very sensitive to that. But the other one, Carrie, is, "Oh, you look great for your age." No,
Oh, please,
you look
please.
great. How about you look great? You look fabulous.
Yeah. Or the idea, like, I mean, the idea, like, I'm going to be 60, your idea of what 60 is, or all of that. It's very hard to, to swallow that. You're like, why? It feels so good right now. I mean, life feels really wonderful. But the whole looking good for your age, yes. And I battle with the idea of, Botox and injectables and all of these things, and what goes on. I guess I don't know if I'm more exposed to it in the business I'm in, but the judgment that's surrounding all of that kind of stuff. And I'm all for it if you're for it, right? So whatever makes you happy makes you happy. So I work with a company with Oakville Plastic Surgery, and I try out some of their new things, and it, like, little Botox here, and hey, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So why not? So yes, I understand what you mean, but
I love that
everybody's
you said that, Carrie, because here's the thing. People and people will judge that. And I'm always like, listen, you do you, whatever
yeah.
makes you feel better. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you for it. But Carrie, oh my God, I had this post. This was back when I was 52. I'm 56 now. On TikTok, I did all this research around, and maybe you want to try this. I don't know.
What is it?
Topical. It's topical estriol. So I did all this research on women in menopause on how they get, it's almost like that tissue paper crisscross skin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm starting to get that around my eyes. This was when I was 52. So I did all this research. I'm like, okay, I wasn't in full menopause yet. I don't want to do full HRT yet. I wasn't ready for that. But then this research is like, oh my God, like estriol is the highest when you're pregnant. What do you have? That beautiful pregnancy glow. It's
Great hair.
great for the skin. So I did this post. It went viral on TikTok, on Instagram, and I had women calling me a Botox head, Carrie. You see what I'm saying? And so I was like, okay, you know what? You can say whatever you want. I'm talking about this, and it
Yes.
relates to skin. And if you have knowledge and the research behind it, you know that you can get Botox and have horrible skin itself. It's not about the quality of the skin, right? So I just kind of left it, but it's kind of along that same lines of what you're talking about
Mhm.
judgment and being out there and putting yourself out there to teach, to educate, to help people.
There's
And
options. That there's options. If it makes you
yes,
feel good and feel confident, I mean, I'm so for it. I mean, and I've done several posts for this company, and I've tried the hyaluronic acid under the skin to see, just so to get the dewiness back, because it's a lot drier than it used to be. Um, and and then tried some procedures that I'm like, oh, I couldn't stand that, and nor would I want to promote that, right? So, and I haven't done surgery or whatever, but it's like I am so supportive of whatever women want to do. And the problem is, and the line is, when it starts to get obsessive, and who are, I guess, who are we to tell somebody else that they've done too much? But you see that, and you see it's now changing somebody's look so drastically that they become unrecognizable. And then, that's a whole other road to go down, of which I'm certainly not educated to talk about. But that's really sad.
yes.
So, like, when is enough enough? And is that what's making that person feel really good about themselves? Like, I don't know. So I think that's where the fine line is. But hey, I have no judgment on it at all.
I agree. And I have definitely recorded about that because I believe it always has to come from the inside. Everything. Everything radiates inside out. What you put
Yeah.
in your body. And then if you know that you're kind of doing the best inside, meaning whatever it is that you resonate with, any kind of spiritual practice or any kind of grounding practice, anything like that that resonates with you, and you still want to do it, and you're not doing it because you don't like what's inside, then by all means, you know what I mean? Always just
Yeah.
do self-reflection, and that's where you're going to know the answer yourself as opposed to somebody telling you, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I sell a lot of beauty products. I mean, there's a lot of people that come in with this tool or that tool. And I really want to take very much that pro aging approach, because it's not like, wrinkles are bad, or, whatever. It's like, if this makes you unhappy and you're looking for a solution for it, I mean, if your neck bothers you, if that bothers you, that bothers you, then here is this option, right? This is where science is going. This is the latest in technology. So here are potential solutions, right? Um, but it's funny because my daughter and I talk about this, and she's like, don't go out there and tell women that it's bad to show lines and wrinkles. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing that. And she's like, make sure you make a conscious effort. Like, she's very on me about that. And we often talk about the idea of pro aging. And now that I am 60, and what I used, or going to be 60, when I look at what my representation of 60 was, years ago and what it is today, 60 is the new 40 and all that kind of thing. I mean, I do think that's in advancements in the way we live and what's available to us and the products that are available or whatever it is, right? Like, so why the heck shouldn't we take advantage of it and feel good?
I agree with you. And our daughters are our biggest our biggest critics, let's just say. And I
You
welcome
think?
yeah, yeah. Listen, I got one too. I know how you feel. But at the same time, it's interesting. I'm going through a little bit of a process right now. I'm big on skin treatments. I'm big on glowing skin and all of that. And if you have some wrinkles, so be it. If you don't, you don't. But you know what she's a medical esthetician. She said to me, and I really resonated with that. She said, "You have wrinkles at every age. When you are 25 and you have a big smile and laugh, you're going to have a few lines. You're going to have, and it's not the wrinkles that that make you old looking. It's when you just don't take care of yourself. And that's kind of like what we were talking about, that energy that comes from inside, the food that you put in your body, and so that's why it's all boils down to choice, right? And
Mm,
you can meet like I see some, I watch a lot of these longevity people, like where they interview elderly women or men, and, it's that light that they hold, right? It's
mm,
that, I look at my dad, he's 89, he
yeah.
gets on his bike, Carrie, and he rides his bike and he says hi to people in the neighborhood, and people see his light. And I think that that is what's most important about, you know, being in the light like you are and aging in front of a camera, right? It's
Mhm.
like people see your light, Carrie.
Thank you. It's funny when you talk about your dad, like, and I watch those shows too, and Blue Zones and what's the secret to longevity and what's it all about? And the underlying thing always comes back to that sense of community, right? That sense of like those love and relationships and that calmness and the letting go. It's funny because I'm moving right now and I am packing all my shit. Okay.
Oh,
And I am packing, and I'm like, why do I have this much stuff? And anybody who's packed says exactly the same thing. So I cannot believe that I've been hoarding this much. That means nothing to me. And all it is filling a space and filling a space in the house. And it's really this wonderful feeling of purging that, physical stuff, but, I think we all need to purge the mental stuff too, right? And have that sense of calm and clarity, which is not certainly easy to get. But I think the more the stuff that you have, really complicates it. And, the physical stuff really you put it into light for me. And, before it'd be like, oh, I gotta keep that. I'm gonna need it for something, sometime, some way, someday. And now, I mean, we're on our third dumpster.
oh,
So,
wow. That's a lot of
you know,
work.
so it's that clutter in your brain, and it's that clutter that I don't know creates a lot of stress. And when you talk about, I mean, lines and wrinkles, obviously that reflects that outside. It reflects on what's going on in the inside. Just to digress a moment, I mean, when you talk to medical estheticians, I mean, 25-year-olds are coming in for Botox. They're coming in over those lines that you're talking about, the natural smile lines, the nose to mouth lines, and, here, whatever. And they're coming in to get that done and taking that magic out of their faces, right? So, I wish they wouldn't do that. Like I just, let that individuality come out a little bit, but there's a lot of pressure in that. I know I'm sort of, complicating the two issues, but it's you just gotta just clear the clutter.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that too. And you're talking about clearing the clutter. It's in everything. And I don't know if you were like this, but your 40s was very different. Like when I was in my 40s, it was about building, getting,
Oh,
accumulating, right? Like it was all
climbing,
about that.
climbing that ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, at 56, I'm like, I don't care about Gucci. I don't care about Prada. Like it's like my whole world has completely changed where so
Yeah.
many things matter to me more. Like what's in here to be able to help others and express. And I think that people and women who stay relevant because they're saying, I'm not going to fade away. I got so much left in here and
Yeah.
here that I want to share.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, it's funny when you say sort of, all the name brands and the climbing and attaining. I guess they were just markers and measures of success, right? And everybody comes to, when you sit there and I tell my 35-year-old son, um, who wants to attain all the things that I wanted when I was 35, right? All those measures and markers of societal success, right? And then to sit and really look at him and say, that's really not going to matter. And there, no one believes you. And I wouldn't believe anybody who told me that, because you have to go there in order to understand that, and realize that it's not all that stuff. It's an inner thing. So I think everybody has to take that journey. It's like, oh well, that, I'm that kind of person. Well, the burner's hot. Well, I have to touch it to find out for myself. I wish I wasn't so much that way sometimes, but I have to have that experience.
You just said it. It's like at that age, maybe that's it. Maybe we've just broken down what it means to, reach this because it's at that age, it's more outside in living versus
Yes.
inside out living.
Well, because you also, your mortality comes into effect now. How many Christmases do you have left? Right? Like, I mean, thank goodness I have a mother who is 80, who is going to be 80 in May, who is not on any medication, who plays pickleball every day, and is really the young one in her group. And I mean, her mother lived to 100. And was, trying to kiss the priest when he was trying to get in and counsel her. Like, I mean, she was full of spit and vinegar. That probably sounds awful, but she's laying in her bed and she's like, come here, mwah. It's just, full of life still. I said to my grandmother, what's the worst part of getting old? She said, well, my body just doesn't want to work anymore. My mind still works, but my body doesn't. So I don't know. The mortality comes into effect, and you realize what, if anyone goes to therapy, what do they? A lot of times will ask you, well, think about the happiest moments in your life, right? And those happiest moments don't. I mean, a Gucci bag isn't there generally.
No,
Generally,
no, no, it's not. And it's not anything really that's going to create a lot of depth or warmth or meaningfulness in your life, right?
but that pressure is being put on. Like when you're getting married, when you're having kids, got to buy a house, all that kind of stuff. Whereas, unfortunately, kids now, I mean, many of them will never be in a position to buy a home.
Yeah.
So those markers of success are unattainable, and that's throwing them, a lot of them, into these wild depressions because they won't attain that stuff. And so they've got to find it somewhere else, and be nice if they started to find it inwards younger. That would certainly be nice, but probably it's going to take a long time to make that transition, how the world is changing so much.
Yes, I agree. Another thing I hear from, younger adults like 20s, 30s is I never want to have kids. I don't want to bring kids up in a world like this, right? You've
Yes.
probably heard that.
I have two who don't have kids yet. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm this like eternal realist optimist, if that even makes sense. Like, I
Well, I
do
think you kind
believe,
of have to be, don't you?
yeah, we
Like just
do.
to get the day done, like you have to have a bit of optimism.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's kind of the way that, we can forge ahead and just keep going with, starting from the inside out living. Because just like what we were saying, if you're doing a lot of outside in, you're going to be pinged constantly by things that are really hurting your essence, I
Yeah.
think.
Or just not being able to find out what that really is, not spending enough time with yourself to know what that really looks like. So that can be pretty tough as well. Like I had sort of said to myself, like, we had a place down in Mexico, and a lot of people, oh, you're going to retire there, and that's what you're going to do. And I'd go down there, and people would say, oh, do you come to yoga with me, or do you want? Oh, let's go to pickleball, or do you want to start kiteboarding, or whatever. And I'm like, no, 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 that's not really. And I'm like, what am I going to do for a hobby? like, like for the life of me, I couldn't figure out a hobby. Like there was nothing that. So I'm like, I got an e-bike, and so I'm on the e-bike. I'm like, okay, I like this, but I don't love this. I mean, this is pleasant and I'm enjoying it, but I can't. I'm not obsessing about it or anything. Not like people like like my husband's a kiter. Like loves to go kiting, and that's the community around this place. So I thought, I really like working. Like I love my job. Like I love what I do. And that's what's gives me the fulfillment. So, and that's sort of looked upon as, well, what do you mean? You're not going to retire if you have the option to retire and to not do anything. I'm like, I think I might just die if I don't, stay busy and active and all of that sort of thing. And not that those things aren't, because they are. And that's a great place of zen for a lot of people. But I get into my sort of flow state, when I'm working and I'm on air and it's a good show, and you just sort of time goes like that, and you're like, oh, so that's what flow state is. So
I
it's
love that you talked about flow state because, oh my God, like, do you know how many times I've heard, like, what's your hobby? I'm like, I don't have a hobby. I just like to do what I do. And, I work alongside my husband and he's a big golfer. So that's his big thing. And I like to golf too, but it's not something that I want to spend, 5 days away, 5 days away from home, 5 hours at a time. It's just, doesn't
right.
interest
The
me.
golf widow.
But
Yeah.
tell me, what does flow state mean to you? That's an amazing way to
Wow.
start tying this up.
Well, I never really had thought about it before. And I was just listening to a podcast, and they were talking about it, and I thought, oh my gosh, like when I get off the air and I feel like just invigorated and energized, and it didn't feel like work, and it was like I was just in tune, and that conversation was just flowing, and time had absolutely no meaning. But I think the biggest part of it is I wasn't thinking of anything else. I was present. And I think that can be one of the hardest things to be, but that's a really big component for it. So, like I'd love to know how to meditate. Like, I mean, God love people who can meditate. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. Well,
But maybe that'll be my flow.
maybe that's it. But I actually recently recorded a podcast all about embodiment. And I think what you're describing is basically the same thing as embodying who you are at your core, and you're resonating out and you're not veering from that, meaning those distractions over there or over there, they're not distracting you because you are embodying who you are and what
Mhm.
lights you up.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's why I love what I do so much. But it doesn't even just have to be about, the shopping or whatever it is. It's just that conversation, and learning something new or lifting that person up and just being totally in tune. It's a really unique feeling, and maybe that's what people get when they have hobbies. I have no idea.
Maybe, maybe
Oh,
that's it. Or Carrie, it could be just like they're just trying to distract themselves from their real life. That could also be it,
maybe. I mean, when I see people who love golf that much, I'm like, hey, that's your zen.
I guess. Now, okay, if you could offer one grounded,
Oh gosh.
I know, here we go. One
Okay.
grounded truth, one grounded piece of advice to women who don't want to fade away. Like, what would that be? What keeps you going even when you get knocked down? Because I'm sure in all these years of being on television, you've been knocked down. So, what keeps you going?
Hmm. I think I mean, for me, I don't know. It's like it's just this inner drive I've always had, but I think it's feeling more just feeling more confident as I get older, like not feeling competitive, not feeling, that I have to climb the ladder or do this or do that, or that I have to meet other people's expectations. The idea of finally coming to feeling confident enough that if I want to try a new idea, that I feel supportive enough in myself that I'm not worried about other people's judgment for
Mm,
it, or someone to say, oh well, that sounds ridiculous. Well, so what? Who cares? Is it's I guess with getting older, Oprah has always said those are some of the best years of your life. That really is one of the greatest things, is that finally listening to your inner voice and acting upon it, and not worried about what other people think.
yeah, maybe
Like,
that's it. When we're younger, maybe we worry too much about how we
oh,
will appear, what other people will think, or
you don't want to
whatever.
be embarrassed, or somebody, or judgment or anything like that. Like, I feel like people who judge, are people who are afraid. They're afraid to try it themselves. I mean, can you imagine judging somebody for wanting to try a new idea, or to, feel confident enough to be vulnerable in front of you? I mean, shame
Mm.
on those people who judge.
Have
And there's
you
so much of it.
do you ever listen or read Brene Brown? I love
Uh,
her.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Unless you're in the ring with me, you're because people love to give that, right? People love to give their opinions. People are like, "What? What are you going back to college for in your 40s? Why would you bother doing that?"
Oh,
I'm like, I had so many opinions, and I'm like, because I want to. I want to help other people. Like, and I need to have some credentials to do it. So
yeah.
I'm doing it.
And
And
don't be afraid to start something new. Like,
yes.
just don't be afraid of anything to start something new. And like, I just feel like I've got the confidence to do that, right? Or to have an opinion or voice, or not to feel, yeah, small, I guess.
Yeah. Reinvent yourself no matter how old you are. Don't even think about it. Always reinvent, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I mean, that's what with fashion line. That's exactly was, when we sat there, talking about that. It was, well, what do you want to do? And I thought, well, I mean, what, there's a million fashion lines out there. There's a million of this and a million of that. I mean, what could I possibly offer that would be, different, or this or that? And I just thought, well, I mean, if they were things that I liked and things that I wanted that were serving me in my life now, you know, talking with my girlfriends and other people, it was like, well, maybe it'd help and serve other people as well, just about fit and my changing body and not conforming to certain cuts that are in clothes that, well, you do, everyone talks about, you got that little roll and you won't have a muffin top and all that. I mean, oh my God. I mean, if I hear that over and over again, it's like, how about we give you a little bit more fabric here and then take it in here. So, you feel like it's a relaxed but kind of custom fit. So,
Yeah,
I
tell
thought,
us more because it's called Carrie. How do
yeah.
people get it? Is it available only in Canada right now?
Yeah, it's exclusive to the shopping channel. And so
Okay.
they were really wonderful in being supportive on doing the line. And it's all made in Canada. It's made in Montreal. And so we did our first little capsule that was about 20 pieces. And so my next one comes out, next collection on May 24th are the shows, but we'll probably drop it about a week earlier online. And then we'll come back with the fall collection, and it's been so wonderful and supportive. So far, I mean, what goes into it, it took about 2 years to get it to this point. And everything in the collection is relaxed but tailored. you
Yes.
know like what I'm wearing right now, I never thought I'd be wearing a so-called caftan, but it's a jean caftan. So it's a dress, it's a jean dress, but it's cut in a little bit of a different way. So it's, yeah, these are essentials that I really loved for me. And the idea was to clear the clutter, because that's where I'm sort of at in my life, is to, I've looked in my closet, and it's funny because it's evolved into women sending me pictures of their closets, because everything is jammed in there, right? And the clutter is there. The old saying, we wear 80% of our clothes, 20% of our clothes 80% of the time,
True.
which, right?
Yeah.
And everything that's in the back of your closet. So I was looking at my closet like it was a time capsule of someone I used to be, or wanted to still be, or thought I should be, and they weren't serving me at all. And I thought, like, I got to get rid of them. I'm getting rid of them. And I wanted that aspirational closet, the one that actually had an inch or two in between each garment, because each one I was actually wearing.
Oh, you're wearing the caftan. I was sending my girlfriend the link to that this morning because I'm like, I love
Oh,
this. It's so nice. And
thank
you know what
you.
I love too is that I personally, I I love that you don't say things like Carrie specific for women 50 plus, or you know what I mean? Like, I love that it's for anybody who wants clothing that's stylish, that looks great, has nothing to do with, you're an old lady, so you can't wear the, like, honestly, Carrie, okay. God love my mom. She's very, very traditional, same age as your mom. She'll be 80 in July. And
No,
she's
no.
like, she's like, oh, I can't wear that. The skirt is above the knees. I'm like, Mom, you've got the most gorgeous legs
Right.
I have ever seen on a woman that's almost 80. You're amazing. Your legs are beautiful. I'm like, wear what you want, Mom.
It's crazy. There is, this idea of wanting to be a little edgy and not doing it because I don't want to be looking like I'm wearing my daughter's clothes and all of that. There is that fine line. It is so funny. So we just gotta take away all those boundaries, and that's it. But our
I
body's
love it.
different. Like, there's skin in us in spots that didn't there wasn't before, right? So when I put that on that I really want to wear, it doesn't quite feel right. So let's just do a little bit of a tuck or a let out in those places, so the fit is better. I mean, I just really want that designer fit, but not at those prices. I mean, why is a Prada t-shirt several $100s? You put one on and you go, oh, this is the best t-shirt I've ever worn. But who's got that kind of money?
Yeah. You know what? And that's the thing is we were talking about brands before that. And while there's some brands that they're there for longevity and they're there for quality and all of that. And then there's other brands that are more for show and whatever. And it was funny, my sister and I, not sister, my sister-in-law and I, we were talking about, looking at name tags. And it's like, who cares? I want to wear something that makes me feel good when I put
Yeah,
it on. That's it. I
that's
don't want
it.
I don't want any judgment. I don't care about whether it's shorter or longer or whatever. Just make sure it fits me. That's it.
You got it.
I've had
That's
two
exactly the way I
babies.
feel.
So
That's
there you go.
that. And not
There you go.
apologizing for it. There's nothing worse than the idea of it's kind of the same thing as talking about getting old and wrinkles, right? And talking about, muffin tops and fat and hiding this and hiding that. And, I think we all just ultimately want it to be smooth, right? We just kind of want a smooth finish, no matter what the dimensions are. I just want it to be smooth.
Yeah, and comfortable. For me, it's all about, showing my best assets. How about that? I want to
Yes.
show what I think my best assets are. I want to show that. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And they're different for everyone. Like that's the
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and
You'd probably
I'm
laugh at me, Carrie, because I'm always like, like I always try and hide my boobs, right? Because I'm a very short little person. And then, somebody will be like, people pay for that. Why are you hiding that? I'm like, it's true, but it's just like, it's my thing. It's
right.
my thing.
You want to
So
minimize your bust, right? And
there you
that's
go.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you, and maybe at 20 you didn't, but now you do, right?
Exactly.
Who
Okay,
knows?
so where is there anything that I missed? We talk I'm going to have links in my description on where people can find your collection. And is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that you want to close off with?
No, I just think, I mean, I'm just happy that we're having these kinds of discussions, and having it with you today has really been wonderful. So I appreciate that. And no, just go to tsc.ca and just put in Carrie O and have a look. And there's only a few pieces on at the moment. We were very lucky. We had lots of sellouts, but it'll be back towards the end of May, and I'll have a few shows on then. But no, it's been wonderful. And pro aging, right?
I'm there with you, sister. So everyone, make sure that you watch Carrie on TSC. She's my favorite.
Oh, in your mind. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.